In this episode, we'll adjust materials. The long hair of this jaguar is pure and plentiful with very few details. Actually, the reflection of the black hair is a tricky problem. From the limited references, we can still see the details of the hair. The reflections are not pure white. Instead, they're colorful. Let's see this close-up. The hair looks clear with color reflection. Actually, the properties of the black hair are pretty much the same as this Black Panther. We can refer to its hair. Also, the reflection and transmission of the hair in different colors, such as yellow, white, and black, are somewhat different, just like what we mentioned in the first episode. So, to achieve a natural effect, we need to shade the hair in different colors separately. Here we go. Open the project. The hair on the body is the same as that on the head, so adjusting one material is enough. Hide the wireframe. The current lighting is too poor to get a good render effect. Let's rotate the environment. The spots here are relatively bigger and smoother, which can easily reflect how the material looks. Compared with the hair on the front legs, the hair on the body is much more chaotic, which is different from this Black Panther. So it's a bit hard to make the similar effect to the Black Panther. That is why I focus on the black spots on the front leg. As long as we get correct effect here, we can get the same effect in other black areas. Just the reflections are broken up on the chaotic black hair, thus the reflection is a bit weak. Well, let's start off with reflection. Replace diffuse shader with principled shader. That way, it'll have some weak reflections. Here, I recommend you guys use the principled hair shader in Blender 2.8 or updated. It is a PBR node, so the reflection and the transmission are pretty accurate. By default, the transmission of the hair is quite high, thus the overall details are lost a lot. Also, the saturation becomes low somewhat. However, such translucent hair is rare in the natural world, so I usually blend these two nodes. Our texture is reddish orange lake in this picture. We can correct that color a bit based on this reference for now. The current color is still different from the reference, but it's okay, we just focus on the reflection and transmission for now. After adding transmission, the whole hair becomes blurred. The black spots are pretty opaque in the reference because the black hair has low transmission and the yellow hair is more translucent, so we control the transmission of different colors separately. Save a copy of the current effect. There are a few ways to separate different colors. Here we use Separate HSV node. The brightness contrast between the yellow and black hair is high, so it is easy to separate them. Add a color ramp to control the contrast. The black hair is not completely void of transmission. Give it 0.2, and give the white and the yellow hair 0.65. When adjusting the materials, I prefer to adjust the masks first. The yellow hair is a bit more fluffy now, The black hair is opaque, yet the yellow hair needs to be a little more translucent. We can see some color variation when taking a closer look. Some of the yellow hair is a little brighter, and some are darker. Viewed overall, each yellow hair is much clearer. It's not blurred at all. Let's tweak it. Give the hair some random with the Musgrave texture, strengthen the contrast. The white areas are where we're gonna vary the color. The hair there can be a little brighter. There is a fact at this node. Like in many color correction nodes, it is to control the intensity of the node. When it is 1, then the intensity of this node is 1. That is, the node works completely. Setting it to 0, it means the node doesn't work at all. Okay, we use the mask that was just adjusted to control the intensity of the FAC. The hair in the white areas is affected by this node, and it will be shifted to bright yellow, but the black part won't be affected, and it still be kept as before. Now we can see some slight change in brightness. Let's pull it up a little more. The color is still sort of flat. We can darken the roots a little and keep the tips as they are, thus giving the hair a little depth. There is an intercept in the hair info node. It can control the color variation from roots to tips. By default, the roots are dark and the tips are white. Still, we change the mask range by color ramp node. Flip color ramp. The white parts are what we are gonna adjust. Dim it down a bit, connect it to the RGB curves. This way we darkened the hair root. Switch this node on and off with the M key to check the result. Now we get color variation between tips and roots. Oh, I forgot to show you a few aberrations. Let me show you now. Actually, the roots were darkened too much, so I put the RGB curves up somewhat. Capture the current effect. Compare the earlier picture with it. The white long hair on his belly and chest was overly translucent. In the reference, the white hair is fluffy, yet not overly translucent. For the white hair here, with a little high transmission, it looks gray and dirty. Here we still use separate HSV node. Extract the white hair first, and then control its transmission intensity separately. It's usually easy to extract white for animals with hair in different colors. White is pretty different from other colors since it's not saturated. We can easily get the white hair areas by separating saturation. The black areas on the belly and the chest are the white hair we need to separate. Then we drop a color ramp. Raise the contrast. Then multiply these two. Multiplying any value by 0 equals 0, that is black color. Thus, we separated the white hair on the belly. Delete this node. We raised the black to 0.3, which is to say the transmission of white hair on the belly and chest is 0.3. Currently, the transmission of yellow hair is 0.6. We can raise it a bit more. For example, 0.75. The black hair possesses 0.2. Now we got the mask of transmission. This is the render effect with this mask. Compared with the previous version, it looks clearer than before. Hairs in different colors, yellow, white, black, each has proper transmission properties. Then we move on to reflection. It's hard to observe the reflection here. Let's find another place. Here is good. By default, the reflection is void of any color. Let's add some colors. After all, the default effect is far from being good. According to the reference, not all the black hair is covered with a colorful reflection from tips to roots. There are just some bright speckles. Drop down a Musgrave texture node. It is suitable for making some speckles. We use intercept to make a color gradient. Connect intercept to vector of Musgrave texture. This way, the Musgrave texture is mapped onto the hair from roots to tips. Wonderful! We easily get the mask with speckles. Let's test the effect. Alright, the hair is covered with colorful speckles now, yet they are too bright. We use color ramp to control it. HSV node or curve node also work. Personally, I prefer color ramp because it can control not only the brightness but also the range. Multiply these two nodes. Thus, only in the white areas will there be colorful reflection. Well, one node is not enough. Let's add one more node. Alter mix to add. In this way, the amount of hair with colorful reflection is greater. The white speckles are too big. It is because the hair is overly coarse. Let's make it finer a bit. There is no need to struggle with this in the early stage because only after applying materials can we clearly see the final effect. Till then, we can adjust it in detail. The random here is a bit too big. Let's fix it. Oh, I forgot to toggle a mirror. In this case, just toggle on and then smooth the weight. Then the weight is mirrored. Well, it's much better. Alright, we're done with the body materials. Well, the black spots are not clear enough. In real situation, the hair on the top of the head is dense and the pattern is clear. Here we can see the skin is severely exposed. We add a bit of weight to body 3. Circle the area with the annotate tool. This layer of hair can be a bit shorter, since it's merely to cover the exposed skin. Only with quite dense hair can the black spots be clear. The weight here is painted by accident. We subtract it. Now it's denser, but the long hair is a little bit longer. Just make it slightly longer than the underlying hair. Let's adjust it. The hair is more chaotic as it gets shorter, so we take down the weight of random. Alright, we move on to shading the whiskers and the eyelashes. Here I just keep eyelash 3 on. Like the black hair on the body, the eyelashes also possess a bit of colorful reflection. We duplicate the previous notes about the colorful reflection. Ctrl C, then Ctrl V. The eyelashes are black. Drop in Mix RGB. Assign the material. It's better not to set a pure black, but with slightly different brightness. The reflection is too high. These speckles need to be a bit smaller. A little bit of transmittance is fine. The eyelashes are a bit straight. Bring up random a bit. Make it slightly finer. From a closer look, the roughness of the eyelashes is pretty high, but we don't need to make it so high because it'll need more subdivisions. Besides, they make up only a small portion of the overall effect, so a little bit is fine. Also, it shouldn't be as thick as now. Okay, let's adjust the material. Mix these two colors by noise. The reflection can be a bit higher, as well as the colorful reflection. Now we're done with the eyelash material. Let's get down to the whiskers. They belong to hard hair, so they don't transmit light very well. As seen from the reference, they are covered by some highlights. Since the environment is not the same as the reference, the color is different. Currently, the effect is pretty two-dimensional, while in the reference it's more cylinder-shaped. We add a tangent node, toggle on the x-axis. Now it gets better due to the reflections. In the reference, we can see a little transmission. On the light-facing side, we can see obvious highlights. Let's take it up slightly. Okay, done with it. For the material of the black whiskers, we can try the eyelashes. The reflection is a bit high. Make a copy of the eyelash material. We bring down the specular. Get rid of the colorful reflection. Some look a bit flat. The white whiskers look a bit gray. In the ACSCG color space and Rec 709, the value of the whitest color is about 0.821. Let's set it to 0.81. Now it looks whiter. Considering the difference of the environment, we don't struggle with it anymore. This environment color is slightly cold, but this one is relatively normal. Okay, now we break up the symmetry of the whiskers. Oops, it crashed just now. So keep in mind to save the project frequently. I slightly broke the symmetry. Let's specify the corresponding materials. We render it.